Hello everybody. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're going to be talking about part 2 of getting my tattoo. So now, spoiler, I have the finished tattoo. I went in and got it done last week, so finished it all up. And it's made quite a big difference from the first one. If you haven't seen the first part, I recommend go check out that video and then come into this one. So you can see after session 1, the tattoo looked like this. And I finished it up last week. So went in on Monday. And all in all, it took a total of about 5 hours to complete the tattoo. 2.5 hour sessions. The second time around, Orly just drew on all the patterns to fill in the gap. He asked me what kind of patterns I wanted, and we worked together to kind of come up with something that I liked. I didn't get every single pattern on my chart. Mark of the Four Waves gives you quite a few patterns, so I mean, you got enough to do a whole bodysuit with all those patterns. So I didn't get every single pattern that was on that chart, but I did get the patterns that mattered most to me. So specifically all the patterns involving my family, my philosophy essentially about learning and new beginnings. Orly put on all the patterns, and then I went back and said, hey, can we get this one here, can I get this one on there? He put on everything and we got started. For whatever reason, the second session did not hurt as much as the first session did. I don't know if that was just because of nerves around the first session. You know, with that being my very first tattoo and first experience getting any ink on me. You know, maybe it was just nerves. Maybe, who knows why it hurt them more the first time. But second time around, it still hurt, but not nearly as much as the first one. I was able to bear it a lot more. Orly did say I sat very well for it being my first tattoo, let alone a chest tattoo. So I'm happy there. I mean, I like to think I have a high pain tolerance. I was able to sit and bear it for the 2.5 hours with only a break here and there. So overall, I love the tattoo. I cannot be happier with how it turned out. It's still healing. You know, it's only been about a week and a half, so it's if any of you have had tattoos, I'm at that stage where it's flaking. So it's very itchy, it flakes, but you can definitely see the new skin healing and getting a glimpse of what the healed tattoo is going to look like. So as mentioned in the first video, the reason why I got this tattoo is, you know, it's really a dedication to my family. It's a dedication to my parents, to my brother, to my whole family. And it's really it's a symbol for our philosophy, right? It's a new beginning, it's a new chapter in our lives, going into parenthood. And it's a representation of who I am as an individual. So some of the patterns that, you know, really resonate most with me, you can see here at the top center. That one's the fern, and that's one of the patterns that Orly actually put on that wasn't included in the chart from Mark of the Four Waves. So I gave Orly some freedom to put on extra patterns that he saw relevant and that he saw fit. So not every single pattern that I have on me is specifically traditionally Filipino tribal. I let Orly have a little bit of freedom and to incorporate other patterns that he thought would be very meaningful, because when we had our first consultation, I kind of told him why I'm getting it. And so some of my favorites are like the fern representing new beginnings, the river basically representing me charting my own path in life. You know, the river carves its own way through the earth. I don't typically do what everybody else does, and I like to kind of experience and figure things out for myself. I don't typically follow in others' footsteps too well. I mean, I'll definitely follow others for guidance, but I really don't like doing the same thing that everybody else does. I find that incredibly boring. And then obviously the markings representing my family and their signs. You know, the fish being a provider and having that synergy with the river. You know, also the patterns I find really interesting are the ones that beckon back to my ancestors. You know, my great-great-grandparents, they were farmers, they were in real estate, so literal builders of the community. One in the literal sense of they built houses and they literally built the community from that aspect. And then the other, the farmers, is where they feed and sustain the community. So a lot of my tattoos end up around community and bringing people together and providing for people. So there's definitely some synergies there between myself as a provider for my family and a protector of my family, but also a provider for the broader community in terms of training and providing guidance and learnings. You know, I'm so giddy. If you could see my face right now, I have this big grin and big smile on my face. I really can't say how impressed I am with Orly and how happy I am that I went to him and got this done. And really the whole process, it's been such an incredibly positive experience for myself and for my family, where I really couldn't be happier. Oh, damn, that guy's headlights are pretty sick. So overall, if for any of you who are really thinking about looking into Filipino tribal tattoos, reach out to Mark of the Four Waves. You know, when they called me and walked me through each and every one of the patterns, he told me what each pattern is called and why they chose that pattern for me and its representation. And once you really learn what the patterns are about, the tattoo really takes on a whole other meaning. It takes on a whole other perspective. It really kind of has a life of its own type thing, where it's really telling the story, right? It's not just a bunch of symbols and marks that look really cool, but you can really understand and appreciate the deeper meanings behind that and really connect with the tattoo. That was one of my goals when I was getting the tattoo, was to truly respect the culture and to understand what each of the patterns mean, to understand the symbolism of it and how it tells my story. I absolutely did not want to just get the tribal tattoo just because, hey, it looked cool, or, oh yeah, it's a representation of my wife's culture or whatever. I truly wanted to understand what it meant. You know, this is one of those tattoos where I think in my perspective, you know, maybe I'm being a little too elitist, but in my perspective, you know, with culturally specific tattoos, you should understand what it means and what it represents. You shouldn't just get something just because it looks cool if it's from a certain culture. By all means, you don't have to understand every little story and every little thing about a tattoo. I mean, there's a time and place just to get a tattoo because it looks cool, but if it's culturally specific, you should probably understand what it represents, just so that way you know what's on your body and you know how it can and you know how it can be interpreted. So all in all, you know, it's it has certainly started a hobby or an addiction, you know, one might say. You know, as my wife and I were looking at it, you know, now she's thinking about getting a tattoo on the back of her neck, and I'm already thinking about the next tattoo. And you know, these are all ideas I've always wanted anyway. It's just now I'm actually going to think about getting them. So it's all good. You know, it's not like suddenly I want a whole bunch of different things on me. It's all these patterns, it's all these styles and images and iconography. It's all these things that I've always wanted since I was a teenager and just never bothered to really consider getting them. So now it's just about thinking about, okay, what can I get? Where can I put it? Brainstorming all the different things I can put on my body and, you know, when I would get them. But we'll take it one step at a time. We won't go too crazy right off the bat. For anyone who's considering getting a chest tattoo, I'm going to share a little bit about my experiences and the pain levels. You know, pain is subjective. Everybody has different pain levels, and I like to think I have a high pain tolerance. You know, I was able to sit through the whole chest tattoo with, you know, without really reacting. For the most part, I was able just to chill. I was able just to sit there and talk through it. So the muscular parts really weren't too bad. The two parts that were worst for me by far was the sternum, so like this area right here, right in the center, where it's just bone, where your rib cage comes together, and then the area near the armpit. So any area like right here, those two areas were definitely the worst. The sternum was definitely worse for me. You know, the armpit was definitely more just like a burning sensation, like someone just put like a hot iron to your skin. The sternum was definitely the worst. That felt like a burning razor just scraping and raking across my skin. So for anybody who's thinking about getting a chest tattoo, just be prepared for those. But you know, Orly did such a great job. You know, he let me know, hey, going into this area, going into that area, and you know, he'd hit the sternum for a little bit, go to a different area, let me kind of recover, get a few breaths in, go back to the sternum. So he'd jump into different areas, so it wasn't too bad at any one given point. That's always the thing with the winter nights. Sun goes down so much earlier now. Well, also, you know, daylight savings and bad, but yeah, I typically don't like riding out at night, and I forgot how early the sun goes down, so now it's gonna get dark, so I should probably turn around and get home before it gets too dark. So, I mean, if you have any questions, leave a comment below. I'd love to answer any questions you have. If you're thinking about getting a tattoo, if you want to learn a little bit more about what each of the patterns mean. All right, everybody, so that's going to be it for today. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my ride on the way home, especially as it gets darker. I gotta focus and make sure that I'm being seen and riding safe. So have a good one, everybody. Be brave, do good, take care of yourselves. Peace. See you on the next one.